Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Sarah Daly with us. She's an artist and a researcher. We're going to talk about AI and art. She has a colorful background, founded multiple companies as well. So that one's going to be a fun one. She's in Brisbane, Australia. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. Lots of art in both places. This pod is brought to you by podfire.com. That is my podcasting company. If you want to scale your podcast the unconventional way, we have a couple spots left for new clients. You can go to podfire.com. Sarah, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks for having me here, Charles, and hello to all of your audience as well. It's lovely to have a conversation with you today. So yeah, I'm an artist. I'm based out of Australia. I'm also an AI researcher. So I've been working with AI as a collaboration tool in my art practice since about early 2018. So I've been kind of playing with this stuff for quite a while, and then it's evolved so quickly over the last years. Yeah, some of the tools that I started off using were, the Deep Dream technology, which was super fun to play around with. But it's evolved so quickly into the DALL-E 2 and Mid-Journeys, and you can really start to use a lot of different tools to achieve some cool outcomes. But what I actually do in my art practice is I make commission art that tells people's stories. So I dive into the background of a person, a company, a place, and AI is wonderful because it actually helps you think through the details of a story in a new way. Like, if you've used AI before, it sees things differently to how humans see things. It processes things differently. So for me, as an artist and as a human being, it's this new lens on the world, and almost like we have our own lens through which we see the world. It's quite subjective. But once we put the AI lens onto what we're doing and we start collaborating with it, new things come up, and it's surprising. And I think that there's going to be a massive shift in how we perceive our world through this new lens of AI. So I'm looking at it through the artistic lens, but there's so many other ways that you can look at it and just start playing with it and collaborating with it.
What is the definition of art, and what does art mean for you?
You're going for the big questions there. Yeah, so there's so much written on this. What is art is a whole textbook. To me, art is what you recognize as art. That's the thing. And there are different ways of recognizing what art is. My world is all about, so art covers so many things. You can, you've got people who decided to put a latrine inside of a gallery, and suddenly that's installation art. So there's edges around what art is. For me, art is communicating an idea in a way that helps people see the world themselves in a new way. Or my bent on it is I always have a skew towards beauty, a skew towards those sorts of emotions in art, but that's not the definition of art. So it's, yeah.
Because my brain was like,
it is.
yeah, I love art. I admire art. As a businessman and a very much of a capitalist, I think both can coexist. I think business is art too. And
you're absolutely right, by the way. I am a capitalist. I may be a rare artist and a capitalist.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe you know that better than me, but yeah, lots of them were communists. Who knows? But my brain came up with solidified emotions when I asked myself that question.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It has to engage you. It has to draw you in some way. And I think that's why the technology is so interesting, because it's a new way of drawing you in. Artists have been kind of exploring emotions for a really long time, and they find new edges. So this is a new edge or a new way to see the world and to, I think, dive into who we are as humans.
Right. It's very therapeutic, I guess. And who knows, the result might be pleasing after some time. And I think it's a science too, because you need to hone in your skills. There is such a thing as beauty. There's also such a thing as understanding the artists behind the Canva and what they're going through. Watched the movie, forgot what it's called, but it's a new Netflix movie, and it's this guy stealing five art pieces from the modern art museum of Paris. Forgot what it's called, but and these paintings are collectively worth 100 million, all of these together. So why that pricing? Why do we value paintings at such prices? I mean, your price, your paintings, they're valued at multiple thousands of dollars. They're beautiful canvas. Why do we
Yeah.
humans value art so much?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, it's value based as well. It's not cost plus pricing. So you can see a painting behind me. There's some paint, there's canvas, there's some wood behind it. You put in a frame. The value of the materials is very different to the value of the artwork. And the reason people are getting such high prices for work that they're almost iconic. In the work that you're talking about in the Netflix series, they're essentially markers on the progress of human thinking, where people who are buying those want to hold that marker on this is where we were then in terms of how we perceive the world, and that has a value. So that's why they're buying them at such high prices, because they're iconic. But then you can get a Chinese forgery online and just pop a picture in there and say, hey, can you make this Rothko painting? And there's all sorts of artists now that are still making Rothko style paintings, and they're not worth anywhere near what you would get in an auction for the original. So it's not about the thing itself, the materials that go into it. It's the human thought that goes into it, and the point on the timeline that it was created and said, this is what was happening.
Right, because I can see many paintings in which billionaires just have them in their houses to say that it cost 300 million. And oh, they receive guests now, and the guests have been in the presence of that 300 million, and they might even pop a selfie. And who knows, the billionaire might be a bit fancy and know the history behind that painting, and that's it. To me, that's a bit sad. Um, but who knows, maybe I'd go in the centro of Oaxaca here and catch an artist selling his art, and they would have an amazing story, and that painting would cost nothing, but maybe it would be sharp looking, and maybe there would be an amazing story that I could tell my guests here at my house. So that's why I would buy it. But I feel a bunch of people, they just buy also to trade, right? It just increases in value, and it's like an investment.
It is an investment. It's buying anything that's going to increase in value. It's a clever thing to do. But I mean so talking to having a billionaire who's got an amazing piece of artwork in their home, they sit around, have some cigars, great thing to do, and talk about that piece of artwork. They feel good around that piece of art. So it depends on the human needs behind it. If prestige is one of those needs, that's a really great way to make you feel good about yourself. Why not?
Right. As someone that started multiple businesses, why did you get into art, and specifically AI art?
So I've been an artist since, that was the first thing I did. That was the first degree I did. So it was kind of, I've always shown in galleries. I've always kind of, created. But it was about 8 years ago that I thought, all right, I'm going to put my time into doing this, because I found that it was such a good way of using my mind in a new way. And I think when you work in organizations, you can use your mind in a particular way, but that making it possible for your thinking to come out in a different way. I was trained in that anyway, so I kind of dove into it. But yeah, creating art as a business wasn't something that I was thinking about a lot. And yeah, around 8 years ago, I was actually sitting in the back of my husband's entrepreneurship class in the Netherlands, and he was talking about, well, you need to make sure that you've got a customer and get your customer, know your customer, and then sell to that customer. And it just kind of, there was a light bulb moment for me where I just thought, okay, I'm going to make work for a particular person. I'm not going to make it for me. I'm going to make it for, someone to talk to, in the same way that you've got a CEO or, someone with their cigar in front of their artwork. I wanted to help someone tell their story and to have something that resonated for them. So it became more of a service to someone rather than an ego thing for me to create a piece of artwork. And that's driven my whole art practice. So for me, it didn't feel like a selfish exercise. It felt like actually connecting with other people in the world around me in a nicer way. So that helped me actually create a business out of this.
Because you were into wild businesses, social media in 2009 in Manila,
Yeah,
Philippines. I've been there. Then seafoods in
yeah, yeah,
2013, and then
yeah,
CX eventually, and then
yeah,
finally, yeah, Cap Feather. So
yeah.
many like industries. Do you feel first that you had to get your financial independence before going to art? Because might be a prejudice, but like most art is not, a money
Yeah.
making machine. Art is
Yes.
somewhat the opposite of that sometimes. Like, do you feel you had to get money through other ventures before fully dedicating yourself to art?
It yes, that's a part of it. But I had to figure out how to engage with people. And I hadn't figured that out as an artist yet. So the businesses that I was in, social media in the Philippines, Manila's a bonkers city to live in. It's insane. So yeah. And that was in business process outsourcing. So I understood how to connect with the world to get an outcome. And you'll know a lot about that in terms of podcasts, list building, all of that kind of thing. So it was there I started to understand what that world was. And I worked with a guy who was an affiliate marketer. And I was like, how on earth are you earning so much cash out of this? And this was back in like 2009. And he was amazing. So I learned a lot there. And but then we started this seafood market. So, this guy who owned a seafood shop, the most high performing products that he had were frozen products. So we thought, okay, well, we can distribute those all around the world. We started with Australia, and that business grew really beautifully. But what it helped me do, and this is gonna annoy a lot of people, is I got to see my art as a product. So if I could sell a Thai fish cake, I could sell a painting, you know? So you've got a lesson that comes out of each of these things. When I worked in customer experience, I got to know how to research. I got to know how to understand human motivations, how to understand the customer, what was going on in their heads, so that actually I could make a piece of artwork that really resonated for them in exactly the right way. So, everything you do, yeah, you learn something. And I learned how to run a business. So
Do you feel that you're
very
painting
important as an
your
artist.
entrepreneurial experiences sometime in there?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, do you feel that you're painting your entrepreneurial experiences on that canvas?
No, not at all. Not at all. I really am. When I paint for myself, I'll paint my own world. But when I paint as a professional, I paint someone else's story. I reference all of my own stuff. I have my own style, but I'm deliberately focused on them.
I would, if I would paint stuff, I think I'd target like CEO and founders, people that I know a lot and their experiences and so forth. Like,
Yeah.
who's your target market? How do you market to them?
Yeah, so right now I work with interior designers and property developers mostly. So interior designers already have my clients, so they're great to work with. They're really great to collaborate with. So if someone's already got a designer, they've got a kind of a mood, a vision for where they want to live. So this is for their homes, and I'll create art that comes in to talk to that story. I've also started to work with property developers, so to tell the story of a building, essentially. And every building has people who live inside it. So between the story of the architect has had a vision, the developer has a vision, they know the kind of people that are going to be living there because they're targeting those people. So how do we dive in and really make sure that those people are feeling the way the developer wants them to feel in that space? So I create the artwork that helps to achieve that.
I was questioning a podcast guest today. His wife is an interior designer, and maybe I'd love to help my mom start her interior design business. And I was asking him if I could use like Dali or Midjourney to have to make an interior decor. In your case, do you actually use these tools to have your paintings featured in there as you would envision them?
Oh, absolutely. So Midjourney, Dali is less good at this, but Midjourney is amazing. So long as you can do the right prompt engineering, then it's fabulous. So when designing my year for 2024, I've been essentially visualizing where I want to be, who I want to be working with, the spaces I want my artwork to be in. So I use Midjourney to help me visualize those spaces, and then I use other products to help me create the artwork that I put into those spaces. And I can send those out to interior designers and developers, architects, and say, look, this is the kind of space I can help you create. Do you want to work together? It's fantastic. And when these are visual people, when they can see my art in a space that they want to be curating, it's great.
Right. And what prompts do you use to get these in there? And could I do the same for an interior design business, or is there a better tool than that to actually picture your work and how it would
Yeah.
look?
Yeah, so interior designers and architects as well do, they normally do renders. So they use also like all sorts of products, I think Revit and SketchUp and that sort of thing, but they actually have to do the legwork. They have to do the design work. So it's the human directing the technology as a tool. But what the difference with a product like Midjourney is, and I can send you a whole bunch of prompts and you can attach them to this podcast and people can start to play with them. Your mum can play with them. So Midjourney is different because it helps you imagine new spaces that don't exist yet. They haven't existed in your head yet. And it can iterate on those ideas really quickly. So, I want to create something that would be on the cover of an architectural digest, and I'll tell it about that. I'll tell it the kind of quality, the detail. Like if I want, green velvet sofas, if I want a Parisian mansion, if I want a boutique hotel in San Diego, I can talk about that kind of thing. It knows, design styles. It can go into a Scandinavian, lakeside villa. It's so amazing. So I can tell it, look, put some artwork in there, make the windows really big, and then I can, because it won't make my artwork, it doesn't understand that, it's not accessing my own data. So I work with those images afterwards, and I put my own artwork in there.
What discoveries have you made AI wise with your research so far?
So my formal research is around trust in artificial intelligence. And there's a whole lot about AI is different to technology because it's got these human-like capabilities. But when I started the research back in 2020, that was when COVID hit. So people started changing the way that they used technology, and artificial intelligence became more prevalent. Now ChatGPT, DALI 2, Midjourney. It's becoming more and more, part of our day-to-day lives. But back when I was collecting data, AI was something people were curious about, but they were still using it as a tool rather than, most people were using it as a tool rather than as something that could think in new ways and that you could collaborate with. So I think with ChatGPT coming out, that shifted people's thinking, and we're starting to use it more as a co-pilot for our work. And as the technology improves, then the ability of humans to think, okay, how am I going to use this stuff? How am I going to help it improve my life? I'm writing a book right now. I'm still doing my PhD, and I'm here writing the papers, writing up the data, and I'm writing a book because because ChatGPT is my co-pilot, and I can write that really quickly. Why wouldn't you? So productivity is just skyrocketing in my world. It's great.
And people claiming that AI will replace artists, they just not know what art is, or?
Yeah, so artists are scared of AI. You go onto any social media platform, and anytime AI and art are posted in any kind of thing together, you've got artists going on, oh my God, it's going to take over the world, it's going to take my jobs. Firstly, it's it's a no. But okay, there are some relevant things here. So if you're an illustrator, a book illustrator, you may be out of a job because AI can do that job really effectively. And it's so you've got some challenges in those kind of specific jobs. It's not going to take my job, but because I'm adapting with it. So I think that's where the business side comes in as more and more important, because you need to know exactly your audience so you can communicate with them, so you can convince them that what you're doing is actually really valuable. And AI is going to make art more of a commodity. So, if you just want some, book covers, AI is going to make that for you, no problem. However, you won't own the copyright to those images. If you use DALL-E, OpenAI owns the copyright to those images. So you still need someone creative to get in there and adapt it if you want to own the copyright of it.
So what would be your top goals this year? What are you focusing your energy on?
This year, I'm starting to work more in the US. So in California, that's kind of exciting in my world right now. So the design style, the interior design style, architecture style between Australia and California it resonates. So my artwork really does work in those spaces. So for me, that's exciting. I've got a print series coming out, which is great. I'm finishing my PhD. I was on the phone with my supervisor just going, come on, let's get this out. We're on it. And yeah, I'm finishing up this new book.
Quite exciting, quite a lot too. Well, wishing you the best on that level. Where can people find out more about you, Sarah?
So if you want to have a conversation with me, hop onto LinkedIn. I'm there. So that's Sarah Daly. And you can have a look at my artwork at sarahdaly.art.
Fantastic. That was Charles Cormier and Sarah Daly for another founderwisdompodcast.com.